create points of connection proactively, not just allowing them to happen sometimes when you get lucky and talk to the right person, but proactively looking for shared interests, shared past experiences, and also, I'll get into this in a moment, shared limitations is a powerful one. So shared interests, typically it starts out shallow, and that's fine. You don't have to connect on like your beliefs about God and the Tao and Qigong, building Jing first thing. You can connect on like, oh, did you see that movie? Super dope. I watched Dune 2 on the flight. You see, it's so sick. Like simple shit. I built up the closest friendship of my life, was my best friend throughout my 20s. We actually used to be like rivals or enemies when we were in grade school, high school. But at the end of high school, we ended up being at a bunch of house parties at the same time. And one night we sat down and I was like, oh, he was, playing through music through his phone. I was like, oh, bro, this is a sick song. What song is that? He's like, oh, this is like this Nas song. Oh, have you listened to that Nas album, Illmatic? So dope. And we end up sitting there for 2 hours just talking about old school hip hop. We became best friends off that shit. Just simple. And proactively means listening for points of connection and also presenting points of connection. So Weston, this is to your point. When somebody asks you, how was school? Or what do you do what do you do for work? On a subconscious level, what people are looking for is a point of connection with you. And if you just say like, oh, I'm in accounting, you throw out one line. It's like a fisherman, he's like, one line. If the fish don't bite it, it's gone, don't eat tonight. Whereas if I say, oh, I'm in accounting, but I don't really connect with that work. I'm aiming at getting into like starting my own business, and I've been learning from this teacher and doing this retreat. Like you throw out multiple lines that they can bite at. And it doesn't have to be a whole bunch of crap. But if you have not necessarily like a scripted response, but as things that that you say, a sort of formula for when you meet people and they ask you, what do you do? And being accurate with it, but offering like multiple things that they can connect to and then take the conversation further. And then shared experiences, especially emotional ones. Y'all be bonding in the emotional gym. 2 dudes going through a breakup at the same time are going to bond. If you've had past experiences bonding over a shared trauma or something that like, my dad was this way. Oh, my dad was this way too. That's a deep connection, actually. It's a really deep connection. There was a guy, I was in Sydney actually, and a friend of the girl I was dating at the time was having some mental health stuff and like depression, and he had his neurotransmitter levels tested. Serotonin was really low. And his doctor was telling him to go on like SSRIs and all that kind of stuff. And so I end up meeting this guy, and I shared that after I started EGT and worked in that student house basement that was like infested with mold for 9 months and all that shit, I went through this grind phase. At the end of that, I started working with a holistic health doctor, a functional medicine practitioner named Dan Kalish in San Diego. Really good. He gave me a neurotransmitter test, and my serotonin was like scary low. It was something like 20 or 15% of a normal range. It's really bad. And he put me on a protocol, tested me 6 months later. It was back up to normal. It was actually, I think, a little bit above normal. So I shared that with him. I was like, oh man, I've been through that too. Like, this is how I felt. And then this is what happened, and there's hope. That guy, she told me a little while back that he still talks about that to this day. Just that little interaction. It's like shared emotional experience is super powerful. And when you proactively create that, you just create more connection with people. And then finally, shared limitations. So, I suck at that too. That's also really, really powerful. And that's something a lot of people are too guarded to admit their flaws and limitations. But the most charming people that I've met are those that admit them freely and in a lighthearted way. They're not holding them, heavily. People are guarded. People are guarded because everybody's been hurt by the world. An ex used to call it like very, very charming woman. She used to get along with everyone. But she would say some people, talking to some people, I can usually get like create connection with anybody, but some people, it's like getting, her words, blood from a stone. It's never gonna come. And I was like, oh yeah, like sometimes that's the case. Just no bites. And then go your separate ways. A good point to make is that largely people kind of suck at communicating. So if you're doing all of this well, you will need to carry a lot of your communications. You will. You guys are like above average to great communicators, a lot of you, and like you're working on yourself and you've got all this stuff going on. I mean, that means that when you go back to, Paul, you were saying like going back to school, it's like you got to carry these motherfuckers. Yeah. But that's what leadership is. That's what it is. So with creating points of connection, proactively being the key word, as I said, that begins by listening, and listening on multiple levels, listening to like what hooks are they biting at? Like where is the conversation going? What do their interests seem to be? What shared experiences do I have that I can offer that can create these points of connection? So it always comes back to listening. Hey, it's Taylor. I hope you enjoyed today's clip. And if you did, here's where you can go deeper right now. So my favorite part of the work that I do here is a daily email newsletter that I write every morning on the topics of human development and human potential, life strategy, training the mind, productivity and life optimization, and generally speaking, the path to self-mastery. And so if you enjoy these talks, I know you're going to love the newsletter. And if you'd like to check it out, hit the link in the description or head over to taylorallen.me and you can sign up free of charge. I hope we see you there.